Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Loan Officer Marketing Podcast. I'm here with James Driscoll. James, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Awesome. So, to get our listeners who are you? And tell us a little bit about your mortgage business, where you're at right now.
Yeah, so just to give you a little bit of background, I've been in the mortgage business for the past 31 years. Kind of seen, ups and downs. I started in the mortgage business, hunting down refis, and then quickly realized at one point the business focused around real estate agents, and
Yep.
that's really where we made our focus. I was at one of Carl's events in Nashville, probably like 4 years ago, or at an event, and then they started talking about VAs and having VAs set up appointments with real estate agents. So I had talked to a couple people about it, and we started implementing a plan, and we had huge success with it, to the point where I only not only finished my Focus 40, I ended up having like a Focus like 65.
That's
And we were super busy. Then probably about, I think it was this year, I reached out to you, and I wanted, because we had stopped doing it because we were so busy.
Yep.
I reached out to you to check in, kind of see how the AI CRM worked, and it's been amazing. The biggest difference for us now is that we would have appointments with agents, and we were lacking the follow-up.
right.
And the money's all in the follow-up.
That's right.
So you could have the best meeting in the world. The agent could think you're amazing, but if you don't do the follow-up, it's not going to happen. And that's the biggest thing with your software, is that it helps us with the follow-up, and not only with the calls, and having our VA makes like 12 phone calls before they finally give up on the agent.
Yep.
But then it also, which is brilliant. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to make one phone call and give up. A true salesperson makes 12 phone calls.
That's right.
So it's amazing how you implemented that. And then we have a whole task system that happens where we follow up with the agent, and we do different things. Whether it's different offerings that we have that we're able to provide to the agent, but ultimately it's a touch. And
Yep.
this whole business is about it's about top of mind, and
Yes.
eventually that's what we do, and then we become their top of mind person.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
yeah, and
And
it's awesome. I love it.
so you mentioned the other day, and I verified the numbers with the team. You booked 83 qualified realtor appointments in 3 weeks using the system. Is that right?
Yeah. Our VA books about seven appointments, roughly about seven appointments a day.
Yep.
But then also what happens is they're masked with our telephone number.
Yep.
So when the agent sees that they missed a call, they are then calling us, and then we're getting them live, and then we're booking appointments there. So on average, we'll get about nine callbacks
Yep.
on an average day. Our caller calls from 9 to 1,
Yep.
and then from those nine callbacks, we'll book like anywhere from 3 to 7 appointments. We have 6 loan officers that are doing this with us right now. Each loan officer basically gets a day,
Right.
and our record right now is held by one of our LOs. He booked 14 appointments in one day.
That is incredible. That is absolutely amazing. So, okay, there's a lot here to unpack. If somebody is listening to this episode and they don't have the loan officer CRM and they don't have the concierge, they don't have somebody making the calls, there's a lot to unpack to get around the big idea. But this is super valuable. This, in my opinion, is the thing that takes businesses from individual production to team building, or you're at that ceiling where you're at 4 loans a month and you want to get to 8 or 10, having somebody also filling your calendar with appointments. Like, you still need to be making your calls, you still need to be doing the work, but having someone as well making the calls and filling your calendar is what helps break you through that glass ceiling. So, um, how do the agents that you're calling, are you using the qualified agent data inside the CRM to make sure you're only calling qualified agents?
Yeah, so we did it a little bit differently. So we used a list from Richard Smith,
Awesome.
and I think our list is like 14,000 agents, but we only put in like maybe 1,000
Yep.
for each, because what happens is the way your system is set up is that that agent, if they don't pick up the phone, they're going back into the dialer, a certain amount of days later. So even if you had a list of like just 400 people, it's going to take probably 3 to 4 months to call all of those people, because it's 400 people times how many people didn't answer the phone,
That's right.
and then they're being called again. So it's taken us it takes a long time to get through a list.
Oh, 100% it
Yeah,
does.
and that's why when I think about it, like the way you have it set up with Redder, where like that was my first thing. I'm like 300 leads through Redder, like that's not going to be enough. But now I'm like, oh wait, I get it. You don't need 10,000 leads, Jim. You just follow the script. Just do the 300, and then that's gonna set you up for success. So
That's right. And
yeah.
so we find, and you touched on this, this is a super valuable point at the very beginning. So we get a qualified agent list. So for us, this is a real estate agent that does more than 8 buy-side transactions in the last 12 months. So the list only has those qualified agents in it. Now, what a lot of people think is, okay, well, I'm going to call through that list one time. I'm going to get a bunch of appointments, and then I need another list. But what we find, we track the numbers meticulously with our concierge that are making the phone calls. And we find that we have to call that list at least 8 times before it really, like, it's actually 8 is kind of a magic number when the agent is like, okay, you're consistent, you're following up, you're sending me emails every week, which the system is automatically sending me emails, but you're following up with me, the consistency, and that's when they book the appointment. Are you finding the same thing on your side? Like there really is kind of like a magic number. You've got to make 8 to 10 calls to them before you book the appointment.
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually reading the book, The Ultimate Sales Machine,
Oh, nice. Yes.
and as I was reading the book, when I say read, like my wife's probably laughing right now because I listened to the book. I
Yes.
didn't,
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't, I
I'm
didn't
the
read
same.
the book, so
Yeah.
in full disclosure, but one of the things they mentioned was that you have to call the client, you have to call somebody 12 times
Yep.
before they pick up.
Yep.
And it like clicked to me. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, that's like what Chris and Mortgage Marketing Animals, like that's what they talk about.
Yep.
And they're like, if you're a salesperson that doesn't mind getting 12 no's before you get a yes, then you're going to be a rock star salesperson.
That's right.
But if you after one no just give up, like you're probably in the wrong line of work.
Yep.
But yeah, that's what we find. But what we are finding too is that like, I probably have to replenish my list right now, just because like where I used to get 7 appointments a day, like it's knocking down to 3 and 4.
Yep.
And it's probably a matter of like he's calling our VA caller makes about 114 to 115 calls a day.
Yep.
So it's probably that he's calling that same list over and over, at some point it does have a diminishing return.
Yep.
So we'll have to like we've been doing this though for 3.5 months, so
Yep.
I'll have to replenish that list a little bit.
That's amazing. And so replenishing the list, yes, absolutely. And so finding a different marketplace, but also, you rerun the list and you'll find new agents that are up and coming that are coming into that list that weren't there before. But then the other thing that we find is we then switch the offer. So we'll switch the script because a different offer will convert different agents that are in that list. So the first offer that you called them with, you've been through the offer, then you switch the offer and you get a whole new round of conversion from the same list as well. So it can be a new list and it can be a new offer, and combine that, run through the whole thing again, and voila, more appointments.
Yeah.
So hopefully that helps. Um, Now, you and I have both gone through this transition where we growing businesses, right? And you eventually get to a point, especially when you have loan officers on your team, where you're now semi responsible for helping fill somebody else's calendar. So you're teaching them the daily activities, but then also filling their calendar. And I don't think you can do that without somebody working the phones every day and almost you're hiring consistency. So, can you talk a little bit about the change that you went through or how your philosophy or business changed when it went to, okay, we're going to have somebody else booking these appointments and all they do is qualify people and book appointments every day?
Yeah, definitely. So it does take a little while sometimes to get like the right VA.
100%.
Um, you can't if you strike out on the first one, like just move on to the next one. Eventually, you'll find one that works, and we
Yep.
have. And but yeah, at first, it like I think somebody at Carl's office had said like, hey, it makes a lot of sense, not to make these calls. And my VA caller is making about 113, 114 calls a day. He's getting probably 30 or so no's, and then only getting like 7 or 8 yeses. So that can kind of wean on someone like oh geez, I'm getting all these no's. And there's this whole psychology of like how many no's to get to a yes, but at a certain point it kind of gets like it doesn't, you don't want it to be your number one focus of business. So we have the VA take all the no's and get our yeses, and then we're basically dealing with all the yeses.
Yep.
So the yeses come to us, and we're working with them. A lot of times, there's probably about a 60% show up rate.
Okay.
So 40% might not show up, and we're doing everything as far as call, text, emailing the agent to make sure they're gonna show up to the appointment. But a lot of these agents are super busy. They're doing really good business. So sometimes I like it when the agent doesn't show up,
Yeah.
because now it kind of gives me that. I'm calling them saying, hey, you missed our appointment. This is what we were going to cover. I'd love to have you back on there. And then we're rebooking those appointments. So today was Call Star All Stars Day. Uh,
Yeah. The
and
Blitz.
yeah, so I was calling all of my cancellations, and we were able to book a few people that had canceled. So yeah, no, the system works great. And having the VA just structured to do those calls and eliminating it from us doing those calls um, dramatically helps our business.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we launched the concierge program because vetting people, hiring people, training people, managing the people themselves is something that most loan officer teams don't want to do. They just want to, like, hey, we already want somebody who knows how to run the CRM, who knows how to do the thing, make the calls. And so that's what the concierge is.
Yeah,
We're making
what's
the
great
calls,
about
running
your
the CRM.
concierge is that like they're English speaking.
Yes, all
No,
North
so
American based. Yeah.
yeah, honestly, like it's American based, and that like says a lot. Because I don't know about you, but like when I get a call, I can detect like an accent. Like I'm hanging up because like I know they're like just soliciting me. But
Yep.
and I think this is how a lot of people in America kind of think. Just because there's so many calls. But if you
Yeah.
get somebody that sounds a little bit like the person picking up the phone, they're more apt to listen to the message.
Yep, 100%. Okay, super valuable thus far. So we've gotten to the point where we've got a qualified list, we're making the calls, we're booking the appointments, or we have a specialist that's focused on making the calls and booking the appointments. You're focused on somebody that has booked an appointment or somebody that has shown up to an appointment. You're having these move forward conversations. Can you give our listeners an idea of roughly how many of these conversations turn into actual business relationships and what that kind of relates to in volume that comes into the business?
Yeah, so last year I closed about 70 million.
Nice.
My team closed 90 million. And I look at all of the relationships from the agents that we met with, probably half of them are agents that resulted from this experience of they didn't know who I was at all, and they got to know me just through making these calls and constantly staying in touch. So it's had a dramatic effect on our business. And even now, when we just started back up in January, it takes a little while for those agents to eventually get to your Focus 40.
Yep.
But we've probably converted probably about 10 agents right now to our where they've sent us a client, whether it's a pre-approval or whatnot, and now we're becoming like a trusted advisor with that agent.
Wow. So 10 new referral relationships in roughly 90 days that have actually sent you somebody to work with, not just somebody that you're having conversations back and forth with.
Right.
Wow, that is amazing. And $160 million in volume. First off, Jim, like
No,
that's
no, no. So I did 70 million myself, and then my team did another 20. Sorry.
oh, okay, sorry. I got the
Yeah,
math
yeah, yeah.
still, but that's still an incredible accomplishment. Like in this market, with the way that things are, you hear a lot of people that, well, kudos to you because you're doing the work and you're making it happen, which is absolutely incredible. And those relationships are just going to stack up. And the thing that I love about it, actually, and if you could speak to this, like, how has your mentality changed or your attitude to the business changed when you realize that you can just have qualified agent appointments every day? Like, what does that feel like?
Yeah, no, it's great because I'm also in the second quarter looking at it as a way to recruit.
Ah,
So a way to kind of bring in other loan officers. Hey, is your current company helping you to get 7 to 10 real estate appointments with top agents? Are they helping you to do that every week?
yep.
And the answer is always no. So that I'm using that as a differentiator for us to, show them how we're different.
Isn't that funny? Because, okay, so this also leads us to the conversation of leads versus referrals. And I think the most recent stat that came out is like 87% of all funded loans came from a referral. And it's either a referral from a past customer database or it's a referral from a real estate agent. And there's so many companies out there that are sending out recruiting information like, we'll generate leads for you. We'll generate leads for you. So you're using appointments with qualified real estate agents to attract new loan officers to come and join your team.
Yeah, a lot of companies think like, I'll help you with your social media and I'll help you to get leads through Facebook. But yeah, we really feel like working directly with the agent is the best way to get the business.
Yeah. And helping that agent grow their business as well. So,
Right.
Jim, uh, let's switch gears just a little bit here. Are you also calling the past customer database and using the same process to do database marketing as well?
So I don't, I'm just being honest. I don't call
Please.
my database as much as I probably should.
Yep.
We do have a software program called Total Expert that we use.
Mm-hmm.
And it's through our company, and it'll alert me like if I have a client that maybe just listed their home, or if their interest rate has come below a certain threshold, or they got an inquiry on their credit report. Like right now, that's I'm calling them like right away. But I'm unfortunately not proactively calling my database as much as I should be.
Amazing. So there we always look to provide value to the guest and the listeners on every episode today. And I think we might have discovered something there for you because those
Definitely.
calls to the database and giving offers, we find when the calls are consistently made at least once a quarter, there's far more referrals in that database of people that they're coming across. So, and that's again part of the concierge. Like we can book appointments with qualified agents, but we also book referral based appointments from calling the database and giving those offers. So for getting your team making those calls for you, that can be a needle mover for you.
Yep, no, it's a great idea.
That's fantastic. So if you could go back to, you mentioned like 4 years ago, you kind of got this concept and this idea. Um, Knowing what you know now, moving back to that point in history, what would you tell yourself about starting this process that might help speed it up or implement it even faster?
Um, Yeah, implementing it faster. I mean, uh, unfortunately, fast is probably not the right word I would use. It's patience.
Mm.
It's definitely going to pay off, and you have to believe it. But the like I told you before, the money is in the follow-up.
Yeah.
So what I did differently before was I wasn't doing the follow-up. I would literally have great appointments and then no follow-up. And we didn't get many of those agents sending us business. So what we do differently now is, we have your system all set up where we have tasks outstanding, and I can go in and monitor the tasks. I can check with my team, make sure that they're doing their tasks, and that's really what it's all about. Is we're doing the follow up, and the follow-up's working because, just yesterday I had an agent that, I did a couple follow-up calls, and literally the next week he's putting me on an email about how he wants me to come visit their corporate office to do a presentation for like all of their KW agents.
That's amazing.
So yeah, and if I didn't do the follow-up, I don't think he would have remembered to do that.
Yep.
So it's small victories, and it takes a little bit of time. But if you can give something like this 6 months, like you'll see the results, and then you'll start to see them snowball,
Yep.
and then you'll just keep doing it. Like I have to keep doing this. Like, yeah, it only, like Carl says, it only works all the time.
Right. Yeah.
So
And it is the momentum of consistent appointments every single day showing up, and eventually it becomes math. You get this many appointments, this many show up, you have this many move forward conversations. But Jim, you focused on something there that I think is really important that most loan officers miss, which is the follow up after that first conversation. We all get excited about the first conversation and the first appointment, but are you following up once a week with all of the agents that you've had a conversation with? You've got your list and you're the one making the calls to those qualified agents?
yeah, so we're following up with them at least once a week. Right when we get off the phone, we're sending them a text, with our contact information, and then we're sending them, like a little card saying thank you with our business card in it. We do that through handwritten, and then we might send them, like, I literally have a list of like 12 things. So actually, I have my business plan up there, but we'll send them, list reports. Then we'll like them on all the different socials.
Yeah.
So each week we have a different plan for what we do,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's how we're staying in front of those agents.
That is amazing. That is incredible. Well, Jim, thank you so much for being so generous with your time and sharing with us. If people want to learn more about you, the business, reach out. How do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can just call my cell at 617-529-9007, or shoot me an email, jim@meploans.com.
Nice.
And I'm more than happy to answer any questions, help anybody out. There's a lot of business to go around.
That is amazing. And all of those will be in the show notes below the episode. So, Jim, once again, thank you so much for
Yeah,
being on the show.
yeah, and Chris, thank you so much for coming up with this idea. It's been absolutely awesome, and your support staff is absolutely amazing. Like you can call them up and they will like help you immediately. Everybody is so friggin' friendly. Like makes me want to move to Canada if everybody's like that. That's awesome.
well, well, thank you very much. We sincerely appreciate that. You'd be surprised how many of them are actually located in the U.S.
No,
And
wow.
but I sincerely appreciate the feedback, and I'm going to pass that
Oh,
along to the team because that's
no,
what
definitely.
they're all about. And to all of our wonderful listeners, if you'd like information on how we can book appointments for you, you go to loappointments.com. That's loappointments.com, and you can book a call and talk to our incredibly friendly team with a no pressure presentation on how that works. And thank you for listening. And don't forget to subscribe so that you can get access to the next episode. Jim, thanks again.
No, my pleasure. Thank you.